Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today video I will show you guys how to paint and weathering a model aircraft. First I will cut the piece of plastic out of the sprue. Don't cut too deep into the piece or it will leave marks on the surface. As you can see, the fuselage have some minor gap need to be filled. So I'm using Tamiya putty to fill it. You can use a stick or toothpick to spread the putty into the gap. Let it dry. Then use sanding paper to sand it down. First you need to clean the canopy with a cloth to remove dust or grease. I use masking tape to mask the unpainted area.
The real deep down you is the whole universe.
I use a stick to mark a guideline to cut. I'm using a sharp knife to cut. Now it's time to prime the whole model. Remember to paint evenly. Primer will help you spot error on the surface. Now I'm gonna show you guys how to pre-shading and pre-highlight. I use black and paint over the rivet or panel line of the model. This is tricky because you need to paint in small, straight line, both in vertical and horizontal. You need some time to practice this. And here is the result. This will create some depth to the model when painted with the main color. Now for the pre-highlight. I'm using white and I paint inside of each panel. And this will create highlight when painted with the main color. Now to the main color. The key is to dilute the paint and paint it in thin layer. 2 or 3 layers is good enough. The paint need to be very thin so it don't cover the shadow and highlight we just did. And here is the result. The other method is post-highlight. You just primer and paint the main color. This time the main color will act as shadow color. Just add some white to the mixture and paint inside the panel like pre-highlight. Both method giving the same result. You can use any method depend on what you're liking. Before weathering, make sure to paint the model in gloss coat. 2 to 3 coat is needed. This is an example of washes react to gloss and matte surface. You can see on matte surface, the panel line is not running and it's hard to clean up. But the other hand, with gloss surface, the panel line run very easily and you can clean it without leaving and residual behind. I'm using Tamiya panel line. This come with a tiny brush. But I'm using a bigger brush for faster pace. Let it dry and then using a flat brush moisten enamel clean and clean the excess washes. I recommend doing downward stroke, this will create streaking effect too. You can repeat this until you reach the desired shade. Now for the smoke trail. This is my mistake that I painted it too big. It looked unreal. So I need to fix it. Painting at low pressure and heavily thin paint. Now for the chipping step. I'm using steel acrylic color. With a small brush, you can create small chip. The key is that the chipping need to be randomly and must be in scale with the model. Don't make big chipping, it will look weird. But combine smaller chipping into one big chip is much better. And one thing, don't overdo the chipping effect. When brush chipping is done, I'm using a sponge to create more smaller chip. It's best to use it around the bigger chip that you just did. Same method is used for the propeller. For the clearer parts. There are two methods. First, paint clear paint over clearer parts. Like this. And remember that the paint must be very thin, it's best to paint until the surface of the part is wet. The second method is that you paint silver on the clear part, then use clear paint to paint over it. For the landing gear, I'm using panel line to create depth. Next is using pigment. I put the pigment on first and fix it with pigment fixer. Before it dry, you can blend it to make it more nature. Then using enamel thinner to create some streak and blend the pigment. I'm using the same method on the wings section of the aircraft where I think dust will be accumulated. You can see, pigment with pigment fixer when dry look darker. So I'm adding another layer of pigment on top. But this time instead of using pigment fixer, I'm using enamel thinner to blend it. Pigment with enamel thinner when dry will look lighter. And this will create interest to the surface. For the weapon, I noticed that bomb surface is not smooth, so I mix putty with lacquer thinner and using an old brush to create surface texture to the bomb. You can use Mr. Surfacer 500 too, it worked the same way as putty. You can create highlight, and even weathering the bomb to make it look interesting. And the result is much better. I'm done. And here is the finished model. Thank you for watching everyone. I hope my tips and guide can help everyone. This is just all I know. I'm not a professional modeler, but feel free to ask me anything in the comment, I will answer right away. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more video in the future. See you guys in the next video. Bye.